Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I awake this morning with a ton of emails coming from congressmen and senators saying we're going to fight net neutrality. Now, I didn't fully understand what they were talking about because AG Pat went against the will of 320 million people and got rid of net neutrality. Essentially, service providers are now gods of internet access. They can slow down sites they don't like. They can edge out competition, meaning they can make it more difficult for people who want to compete on the internet. And the idea that there's all these options is comical. In my area, I think we have one provider that's available. In one of the other areas where I was working, a company dependent purely on one service provider. You don't have options. If one sucks, you may have the option of going to the other, but if that other sucks, then what? Then what? The ruling was put in place to prevent behavior that was taking place prior, where these guys were throttling certain sites, trying to make extra buck off of the internet access. This fight apparently is not over. So Congress has 60 days to repeal a decision that was made by the FCC. This is HuffPost. Net neutrality supporters launched new campaign to reverse unpopular FCC decision. On Wednesday, the group Fight for the Future launched an all-out campaign urging Congress to reverse FCC ruling via Congressional Review Act or face a drubbing in November's election. The leverage: inform voters in the deep unpopularity of the FCC's decision that would allow internet providers to discriminate or charge more for some data. A full 83% of Americans disapprove of net neutrality repeal, including 3 out of 4 Republicans. This goes beyond politics. This is, we want this to remain free and open. That's straightforward. The public is no hedge on this. There is no middle ground on this. They're clear on what they want. 83% is a definitive choice. Just before Election Day, Fight for Future will send text messages to voters who sign up to receive them, informing them of their representatives' action or inaction as it may be to overturn the ruling. Those who sign up are also encouraged to write to lawmakers. Under the Congressional Review Act, the FCC decision can be overturned by a simple majority rule in both houses of Congress. Congress has only 60 days to act after the FCC submits a report to the House and the Senate outlining its proposed rule change. According to Fight for the Future, 29 senators so far have said they would vote to overturn the FCC's ruling via the Congressional Review Act. In case you're wondering, here's a list of the voting members of Congress and how much money the telecom industry has contributed to each of them since 1989, a total of $101 million. Often, when Democrats are asked the question, what does your party represent? I understand that you're not Donald Trump. I understand you're against Donald Trump. I understand that you guys are hashtag resistance. I get it. You want to feel like you're part of something. Fair enough. The thing that you're resisting was already in the White House. It wasn't Donald Trump that brought it in. Donald Trump is an extension of it. But whatever. You're fucking clueless. In this very specific case, however, how your representative votes, how he votes, matters. Democrats consistently tell me about their values, always screaming about their values. You ask them, what do you represent? And outside of we're hashtag resistance, our values, we're guided by our values. Nobody knows what that means at all. What I've said before is what I will repeat, and I would say now. I don't know what your values are. What I know is what you do, what you represent. You tell me things, and I am judging you based on the things that you tell me. Meaning, is this person lying to me? Is this person actually representing those things? Or is that person just saying that because they want to get my vote or my support? Your values, I don't care about. I care about what you do. Your values are shown to me in the things that you do, not in the words that you say. There are 29 senators that are on board with this. 83% of the population, Democrats and Republicans, are on board for changing this rule and making sure that the internet remains free and open. And not just go back to the old rules. Be explicit in making this point from a congressional state and essentially making it a law that this will remain open and free. Your vote is your values. What you put your name on is your values. Don't tell me, show me. Get behind this bill, make this thing somewhat airtight, and make sure that they can't fuck around with the internet. You have 83% of the population that wants this to take place. You have 60 days to review what IG Pot did to the American public. Well, I shouldn't say what he did to the public. What he did in the face or in the opposition to what the American public wanted. You're supposed to be the avatars of the public's will. The public has spoken very clearly. Taking Republicans off the table for the moment. Your values, Democrats, your values, the things that you consistently scream about that no one knows what they are expressed in the things that you do. Supporting this gets across a particular value of we want an open and free internet. If you can't get behind this, then it means you don't want an open and free internet and you're okay with service providers dicking around with the process. Let's take a look at how much these guys are getting paid. It would seem like a no-brainer in the normal circumstances if you have 83% of the public on something that transcends policy or politics. It's not a left or right issue. It's both. The money that these guys are getting is fantastic. Congress took $101 million in donations from ISP industry. Here's how much your lawmaker got. Comcast, Verizon, AT&T, and others spread their money far and wide to influence your government. I mean, you do have to think about it, right? Nobody was clamoring for the internet to be done in this way. Like, nobody was clamoring to say, you know what? We need to allow ISPs to have more power in the process. Nobody was clamoring for that. The overwhelming majority of the public understood that this was problematic and this gives them far too much power and influence in regards to the things that shape our reality. Yeah, you can't allow it. You shouldn't allow it. Not to mention having IG Pot make the decision on this in the face of the American opposition is problematic. So it goes to Congress. Congress, the avatar of the public's will. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tell me your values. Show me your values. Well, I would imagine that their values are going to run up against the $101 million that these guys got. So let's look at the totals. This is just a quick summary. John McCain. Whoa, John McCain. He's motivated. Almost $3 million. $255 million. Or $2,554,784. Mitch McConnell's close behind him at $1 million. Pat Tomey. Wow, look at all of this. Look at all of this cash. Wow. Think about that. If you're getting this money, millions of dollars in some cases, to run in state and local races. Tell me, if you need money to get elected, yeah, it keeps going. The list keeps going. And there's more. And there's still more. These are your senators. I know their names on the page, but these are your senators and these are your representatives. These are people who are put, supposedly, go to Washington to affect the will of wherever they're coming from into the political process. Now, if they're supposed to affect the will of their population into the political process, if that populace is somewhat disengaged, meaning many of those people probably don't even know who their representative is, if they're disengaged, and this telecom industry is giving you millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars in your race over the course of what, from 1989 to 2017, it's a good time span. It's a decent time span, but it's also a lot of money. If you're getting that much money, where are you going to lean when issues come up involving stuff like this? And you have 83% of the population that says, we don't want this. Is all of this cash that's flowing into this process, meaning over the course of the lifetime of these senators from 1989, is all of this money going to somehow influence the will of these politicians for an issue that is so galvanized the public? My argument has always been pitchforks or dollars. Here are the dollars. You have a public that understands what net neutrality is. At least I think they do. And I think they understand that they don't necessarily want this process to take place, meaning they want Congress to act and overturn this rule. It's pitchforks or dollars. Is there enough of a galvanized public to enforce the public's will on this, despite these congressmen getting so much cash? This is going to be fascinating to watch. Pitchforks or dollars? Certainly the telecoms have been giving it the dollars. Are people going to bring the pitchforks? And is this enough of a galvanizing issue where Congress overcomes this hurdle of, okay, we're paid to do something different. The public wants this across the political spectrum. The public understands what took place in regards to losing the internet. And so we are going to act because we don't necessarily want to be punished for not acting. Is net neutrality enough to do that? I don't know. I don't know. I can't make a prediction on it. I would hope that if, at the very least, if Democrats scream about their values all the time, oh, our values, we represent the American public, etc., 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 blah, blah, blah. Okay, here's a chance to show your values. Get behind a bill that will make sure that the internet remains open and overturn IGPAT's FCC rule. I understand you got a lot of cash, but ultimately you also have the overwhelming majority of the public saying, change this rule back, or at the very least even go further and expand protections with regards to the internet. If Democrats, all of them, don't get behind this, you will be able to see where they stand in regards to what they actually represent. Each choice shows your values, shows who you are. I don't care what you say. You don't have to tell me. I should be able to see it. One of the ways I should be able to see it is voting to ensure that the internet remains free and open. So I will leave it at that. I don't want to go this too long, and I feel like I'm badgering and beating a dead horse. Good job on the people who are bringing this lawsuit, or who are pushing that lawsuit, who are pushing for this. Good fucking job. And yeah, write your congressman. Sign up to that particular app. I'm going to put the links in the bottom in regards to what's taking place with this. But the internet needs to remain free. We already have issues with Google and Facebook and Twitter shadow banning. But in those cases, there could be other platforms that spring up that allow people to go to that are more free and open. In that particular case, it's more of a corporate enterprise, and people can choose their enterprise. At a certain point, these things, these monolithic software systems get massive and become a system of their own, meaning almost like a country or a world of its own. Meaning you have so many people that aggregate to Facebook and Twitter, it will be difficult for some other Twitter to spring up. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's not impossible if Twitter starts fucking around more than what they are. They're shadow banning and they're screwing with information and reality that people see. But that is somewhat different than being able to control the edifice itself. I mean, the structure of the internet itself, the thing, the network itself. That's problematic. I can't go to another service provider. I may not have another service provider. But I can go to DuckDuckGo. I don't have to use Google search. There's a difference in those things. Even though Google, Facebook, and Twitter should not be shadow banning. I'm just making the point that from an electronic standpoint of things that spring up that replicate the functionality of what's already there, those things could take place. I don't have another service provider option. Many people don't have another service provider option, meaning you're stuck with a monolithic system where that thing can do anything that it wants. And the last thing that I want to deal with is them screwing around with the information to monetize or to maximize their profits at the expense of truth and reality. So I will leave it at that. Truth is too strong. It's not truth. I would say reality. You shape reality. I mean, what that person sees and information that person gets shapes their reality. If there's certain things that person needs to see that is being hidden from them by service providers or by Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever these corporations, because they have either political or religious or some other bend or dog in the hunt, then that's a problem. You've just changed that person's reality. There were things that person needed to know when they made that search that would have came up under normal circumstances. That's something that you did, preventing that person from getting that information and getting that particular clarity. And you've left him or her not knowing something that they themselves wanted to and may even needed to have known based upon your own political allegiances. It's problematic. The last thing I want to do is add another layer to that with service providers. So I'll leave it at that. All right, guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always support through Patreon. Thanks, guys.